Assalamu alaikum. This is Advocate Gulraiz Ashfaq, and today is the 4th of the April. And as per the observations of the concurrent plight areas of the understandings of the upper courts, especially the Supreme Court and the other reciprocating high courts of the Pakistan, what we have observed during the telecasting shows that there is a fight between the constitutional ambits of the same. That we observe that the PTI governance and the PMLN governance and PTI opposition and the PMLN governance and the People's Party governance under the interim based governance are collectively just want to have the embezzlement or the restorations of the rights of the political anarchies whereof the concept of the uh, People's Party and the Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz and others, Muslim League Awami, these are the some baseline parties which are under the election petitions, and such election petitions are not in the directive orders or the directive mandate of the constitutional squares, and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the Pakistan has referred to the subordinate panels that he is subjected the all other panels. But the question here is that the national government under the state bank is bankrupt under the bankruptcy, and the Pakistan's governance is suffering from the bankruptcy, and there is total amount about 3 billion, and contesting election elements would always need 20 trillion dollars, and the Pakistan is suffering from a lot of the national exchequer issues of the government uh, machinery. So the question is that if the government politicized issues are not being referred in any state bank, the state banks, all of the state banks are being exchequered, and they are not in the positions to pay off their debts and the liabilities out of their own. They are also having the loans in reciprocity of not having the proper base solutions of the governance, and therefore when we just watch any telecasting political stunt over the part and parcels of the uh, moderate immoderate areas of lineal sides of the subsidies which are being prepared in the garment sectors, we are totally outscored after observing these sort of the fightings that the public at large is fighting for the bread and butter within their houses, out of the offices, and the government and the private officials are trying to convince the acquittal or the conviction rate of the economy through pushing the so moto notices to the common citizens that they are not in the positions, and the residents of the Pakistan, they are also suffering from these issues, and the parliamentarian, the Senate, the National Assembly, all these ingredients always composed of one-sided government, not two-sided government. And if the opposition is not in the position, and the election petition which was disposed of in the favor of the opposition, and now hereafter when we just observe that the election petition is against the standing government, thereby the government would not comply with the rules and precedents of the concurrent liabilities over the shoulder of the same, subjected matters to abide by the rules of the concurrent liabilities to discourage the natural, unnatural, artificial disgrace to the humanity, in fact. But what we are observing through a decade of immoralities of the constitutional failures, that after observing the a lot of the constitutional fiscal deficit disorders, a lot of the uh, you can say the watchdogs are trying to convince it that the government is not having the proper perpetual observations of the intellectual rights of the Republicans. Okay, this is admissible, that the conditional barriers of the government and the private sectors, both elements under the elementary laws, always referred within the statutory regulatory orders under the SOPs, standing operating procedures of the departments. But when one institution is said that they are above the law, and that is the law itself, it means that the law itself would not be in the positions to have the comparative observation of the obstruction lines to the said in subordinate or subversion departments of the government or the private sectors, and thereby the concept of the hierarchy of the privatization would be raised. We have to observe the private hierarchy in the Pakistan despite of the government hierarchy, but we are not considering these facts to be done on in our shoulder. Despite of all these ingredients, what we are observing very devastatingly that the private sectors are not convincing the conviction rate of the economy. They are into the habit of just construction of the products which are embezzled within the same factories or outlets of the same for the uh, just selling or just purchasing or seller purchaser contract agreements. And on the contrast, when we just observe the elements of the law services, thereby the concept of the disease parameters of the intellectual rights would be accrued within the parameters of the central limits of the Central Asia and Central Pakistan, provincial autonomy, and the federal autonomy of the Pakistan as well. In the said scenario, the depictions of the effects of the physical intangible capacities of the losses of the human injuries or the human injuries, when we just observe the human injuries inside the mindset of the working individuals within the pretext of uh, you can say that provoking the elementary thoughts of the same, we just expect that what is being connoted to the citizens at large or the residents of the Pakistan, that both individuals and the humans or both of them are suffering out of the necessitated thoughts of the same in the absence of the laws. And thereafter, the concept of the decentralization of the government sector appearing to be through the military media channels, that it could not be curtailed because the hijacking of the parliamentarians and the senators and the other revocation of the laws would have been observed by all of the citizens of the Pakistan through their own eyes. That what is the pretext of the religion, and the within the pretext they are not offering the prayers for the ordinary individuals there. They're not there to just surrender the Ramzan element compilations. They are there to just have the materialistic world. So we have to contest in the judgment day, and before contesting the judgment day, we have to consider those facts that what we have provided the provident intellectual religious ceremonies to the Allah Almighty for the better half of our religious ceremonials. This is my observation. The concept of these stunted religious, non-religious, sentimental issues would be apparent in the public sector while they are just fighting for the election and election again. But we have to observe that the common citizen have nothing to do or has nothing to do with the election campaign. It is for the elites that they want election for the eating, fooding, bathing, and that's it. So we have to observe that the central limits of the Central Asia and the provincial autonomy of the Pakistan, and the Pakistanis are observing a lot of the battles inside their houses, outside their houses, and the shape value of the combinations of the no point of expression of the economy. So stay blessed. This is Advanced Comparative Constitutional Advocate, 4th April.